Hi, this is Robert Petkoff, narrator of the Immortals After Dark audiobook series by Kresley Cole. So right now I'm recording Dreams of a Dark Warrior, and at night I'm going to perform with Bryan Cranston in the Broadway play All the Way. One of the questions asked was, what is it like to record a book during the day like this and then transition to embodying the character of Hubert Humphrey that I play on stage at night? And at first I was very worried because, it's a lot of talking all during the day, and then going in to do the play at night, it's a lot more. I've managed it before with musicals, but because in All the Way I'm not mic'd, so I'm projecting into a 1,400-seat house, I thought it might be troubling, but I've been surprised that it hasn't been a very difficult thing. I do have to remind myself and listen to Hubert Humphrey at night to hear his voice again and get that voice back in my head after doing Irish, Spanish, French, British, Cockney accents during the day during Dreams of a Dark Warrior. It is a definite moment where I have to pay attention to that transition between those two different things, but it's not causing me any problems as I worried it might. When I'm developing a character's voice, obviously the very first thing is, where's this character from? Together with Karen Perlman, the producer of the books, we've sort of determined what we think Kresley wants the origins of each of these sort of demon species and vampire species and berserker species to come from. Sometimes it's very easy. The berserkers are Norsemen, so you sort of look at a Finnish or a Danish accent and try to develop something from there. So what I do with each of those things is listen to dialects from each of those regions and try to match that. And of course, because so many of the protagonists in these books are manly men, their voices have to be very deep and rich and raggedy and very masculine. So I add that layer onto it as well. And it's one of those things where you try to do that. I try to maintain the narrator's voice closer to my own, and then try to maintain the women's voices just a little higher than mine, but not going up into some unreasonable, crazy thing. One of the questions was, do I ever find myself slipping into accents in everyday life? I have from time to time done that. I know that when I was younger and I would walk into a bar where I might meet a young woman, I would slip into an accent here and there because it sort of made me a little more interesting. And it worked sometimes. Sometimes it worked where I got hoist on my own petard because actually I met someone that I really started a relationship with and had to instantly confess that I was just making it all up. It was awkward, but I got through it. But, as an actor, you do sometimes just say something here and there, throwing it out in an accent. Though it's not necessarily an accent, some of the sounds and the demon voices that I come up with, I do find myself at times as a prank. Say when the lights are out at night, I will suddenly say as we're falling asleep to my wife, I'll be like, "Are you awake?" And she will say, stop it, that is not funny, stop it right now. I get kind of a kick out of it until she starts actually kicking me. When I'm recording some of the funny parts, some of the funny scenes that are going on in Kresley's books, there are times where I'll do something in exchange that I find very funny, and we'll stop and just kind of laugh here in the room, and then we have to cut that out and go on, because there are some really funny things that Kresley puts in these books, and even though I'm the one performing them, it's not my performance of it that cracks me up, it's Kresley's writing of it that cracks me up. I think of all the men and all the different characters, families of characters that I've done, probably my favorite one was my first one. I loved doing Lachlan McCreeve because I love doing the Scottish accent. Though I will say, doing Declan Chase in this one with his Irish sort of Liam Neeson-ish voice from Belfast was a lot of fun because it was kind of close to a Scottish, but it tapped into a whole different thing, and I like that accent too. I really had a great time doing Declan Chase in this book because he isn't just one thing. He's Irish. He's covering his Irish with an American accent that occasionally lets Irish slip out. And then he's all of his reincarnations, British and French and Spanish. So that was a lot of fun. There was a big challenge in this that was a lot of fun to do. Karen Perlman, the producer, loves my Cruach when I did essentially Satan, essentially the devil, which we ended up having to record at the end of the day because I knew it would destroy my voice if I did it for an entire day. And if you haven't heard it yet or you don't recall it, Cruach was here and he talked like this. And so it's really hard on the throat. I couldn't do an entire book like that, but thank God he didn't talk a whole lot. One of the questions is it awkward or difficult to do love scenes, and are there people watching when I record them or do them alone? There's always someone here. There's an engineer and there's a producer, and so there is that, awkward sense of performing lovemaking in front of people, which is not my usual habit. But it's one of those things where, the actor in me just commits 100% to what I'm doing, and so I just have to believe in this, and the focus that you require on stage when there are 1,400 people watching you and yet you have to pretend you're alone is the same thing I have to do when recording the books. That's not to say that, there aren't times where the reality of me making love to myself doesn't hit me and I have to stop for a second because I just laugh at my own self, at some erotic sound I just made in pleasuring me. Just cracks me up sometimes. It doesn't happen that often, but there are just times where the absurdity of what I'm doing catches up.